Hello, and welcome to the 46th video in my Punishing Graven lore series. Today we'll be covering the 9th chapter of the Floating Record stories, Crescent's Son. Following Shorthalt's supposed death within Cthulhu's cradle, and his true death within the research lab, Scarab has been left without a team captain. Valeria has nominated Yatta to take his place, but first she must find the confidence to face her buried past, and rescue an old friend trapped in a paradise of her own creation. Now without any further delay, Floating Record Chapter 9, Crescent's Son. On the roof of an academic building, a girl named Yuka spends her evening speaking to herself. Her silence is soon interrupted by Cradle, who has come to check on the status of her latest project. She provided Yuka with this new body, and gave her authority over the tide, all to feed her own curiosity. She's always been interested in stories, and now wants to see what kind of tale this girl will spin. In Babylonia, Yatta is spending her time getting adjusted to her new frame. After Shorthalt's death, Scarab was left without a captain, and Valeria wants Yatta to take his place. Of course, she refuses. To her, this position is something she has neither the disposition nor the qualifications to handle. In a conference room, Nicola and Hilda meet to discuss a series of missions to Hydrangea Island. In what is supposed to be a low-priority area, they have lost contact with two squads, leading Nicola to suspect the teams were compromised. At the end of the Golden Age, this island was home to Misono High School, a prestigious academy for the elite. On the outside, this island was completely normal, but a deeper investigation revealed certain inconsistencies. First, the ratio of teachers to students was nearly 2-to-1, marking the possibility researchers were counted as staff to avoid suspicion. Second is the presence of one name, Reika Saotome, a controversial prodigy in the field of consciousness projection, whose research ultimately led nowhere. He's sure the island was used as more than just an academy, and these factors give him more than enough justification. The possibility of leftover research may explain both the disappearances of the squads and the sudden appearance of the Red Tide. After getting the call from Nicola, Scarab made their way to the island. Despite other task force squads being more suited for combating unknown foes, they were selected because one of the Scarabs knows this island personally. Before the outbreak, this island was Yatta's old home. In addition to the investigation, their goal is to find Reika and bring her back alive if possible. While going over the mission details, the alarms start blaring as the transport begins taking fire. Evasive maneuvers fail, and the best they can manage is a crash landing on the island. Before the team can even assess the damage, dozens of corrupted appear out of the forest and attack, but their tactics seem off. They feel more like puppets being controlled than mindless monsters. After breaking through the ambush, they begin planning their next steps, when a sudden signal interference covers the island. Whatever this signal is, it breaches the minds of the three constructs, attempting to rip them away from Valeria's mind beacon. Even knowing it would leave her defenseless, she initiates a deep mind connection, and the moment she does, the missing constructs emerge from the forest. Together, the constructs and corrupted manage to kidnap Shiva, and despite having launched an attack the moment she woke up, Yatta failed to stop them. Valeria tracks Shiva's position to a building at the top of a hill, and Yatta recognizes it as her old school. Being the most familiar with the school's layout, she volunteers to find Shiva, while the others stay back and restore communication with Babylonia. The further Yatta gets from Valeria, the more intense the interference in her mind becomes. When she enters the school, the broken-down building is suddenly back to its original state. She searches the halls, running into phantoms of her former classmates and reliving memories from her past. When Yatta first arrived at the school, she met a girl named Yuka Saotome, Reika Saotome's adopted daughter, and despite their completely opposite personalities, the two would go on to become close friends. As time passed, the two grew even closer and learned all there was to know about the other. Yuka suffers from a heart condition that leaves her body in a constant state of frailty. Due to this, she spends large portions of her time in the hospital, and despite this, her appearance has made her popular amongst her classmates, with many trying to recruit her into various school clubs. Meanwhile, Yatta herself earned the title Track Queen of Misono, having broken numerous records and dominated countless competitions. On the school's roof, Reika and her assistant Kohei watch over Yatta as she practices. They have determined her physical capabilities make her a possible candidate for the upcoming experiments, but for now their priorities lie elsewhere. Their current goal is to find a way to deal with the Science Council's Ethics Committee, as they are the biggest roadblock to their research. As they leave, Yuka steps out of the shadows, shocked by what she just heard. She came up here looking for Yata and ended up eavesdropping on their conversation. Soon after that, she meets up with Yata and learns she was nominated as Miss Misono, a position reserved for the most popular girl in the school. While anyone else would be happy to have this title, Yuka can't help but feel it's undeserved. She sees herself as a disappointment and wants nothing more than to be useful. Every moment spent not working towards that goal is another moment she can't pay Reika back for adopting her, and this guilt is eating her from the inside. On the other side of the island, Reika meets with a man named Yoshihiro Osako, chairman of the ethics committee, and she's come hoping to secure his support. Humanity is currently pouring their resources into Project Eden and the Zero Point reactors, but she believes humanity's first priority should be themselves. Before attempting to conquer space, they need to eliminate their own internal conflicts. How can humanity expect to accept a new planet when people lie, cheat, steal, and discriminate? She believes the solution to this question is to merge the consciousnesses of everyone together. Her goal is the creation of a singular evolved collective through consciousness projection. Osako's issue with the experiments is the unknown risk of human sacrifices, especially children, who are the main target for her research, and he cannot resolve himself to support her work. Meanwhile, Yata confronts a boy named Masao and his gang of delinquents. As a member of the disciplinary committee, she has a responsibility to enforce the school's rules, and the two swords he brought on campus are a clear violation. He challenges her to a fight and is swiftly defeated, with Yata and Yuka taking their leaves soon after. A week later, Reika presents her theories on consciousness projection to her fellow scholars. For years, they have noticed phenomena indicating the possibility of a collective human unconscious, and she wants to tap into this property to better connect humanity. Many of her colleagues write these theories off as baseless nonsense. Others call it nothing more than fancy hypnosis. But all sides agree that the use of children as test subjects is far too unethical. As her presentation comes to an end, Kohei delivers news of the council's decision. Osako used his authority to veto their proposal. In her line of work, she's become no stranger to rejection, but this news, along with the poor reception to her presentation, has left her in quite the sour mood. When she arrives home, she finds a letter containing the analysis results of the students. These results are meant to find the most suitable candidate for consciousness projection, weighing factors like physical health and mental stability. She opens the letter and sees the most qualified candidate is Yuka. She calls Kohei to confirm the lab's credentials, thinking they must have made some kind of mistake. After all, Yuka's condition leaves her anything but physically fit. He tells her that the lab has never once made an error. As far as he knows, they are the best around. So with that in mind, they make preparations to move forward with Yuka. They have replaced all the medical staff with their own people. Kurono has given them access to the latest experimental drugs, and Reika has made plans to handle Osako. When she hangs up the phone, unknown to her, Yuka sneaks back to her room in triumph. Her plan was a complete success. When Yuka got home earlier that day, she found Reika's letter and saw that the most compatible student was Yata. She read through the report and found a list of possible side effects, including disability and death. She refused to let her friend participate in such a dangerous experiment. Yata has her whole life ahead of her, but Yuka's body is already weak, and with her condition she likely won't last much longer, so if the experiment goes south she has nothing to lose. Unlike Yata, she excels at delicate craftsmanship, and used that skill to forge Reika's letter, replacing Yata's name with her own. If she's going to die anyway, the least she can do is save her friend, and offer herself to Reika's dream. In the following weeks, Yuka received a variety of shots and medications in preparation for the experiments, but tonight she can forget all about that and attend the school festival. She meets Yata at the entrance of the school, and together they head towards the celebration. There they explore all the stalls, trying food and playing games, when one of the vendors hands Yuka a mask, a gift to commemorate the day. As fireworks begin shooting into the sky, the two take a shortcut through the forest, hoping to find somewhere quiet to view the show. Sitting on a hillside, they watch as the sky lights up, and Yata suggests they take a picture. Yuka reaches for her bag, only to find nothing there, and thinking she must have dropped it on the trail, she rushes back into the forest. Meanwhile, on that same trail, Reika and Osako walk down towards the nearby lake, hoping to get a better view of the sky. While they walk, they discuss a variety of topics, everything ranging from Osako's confession to her during their school days, to the island's new development projects. They walk for a long time, long enough for Osako to lose track of where they are. He turns to Reika as the next wave of fireworks shoots into the sky, but this time there are 2 bangs. He reaches for his chest, feeling blood seep out from a new bullet wound, and in front of him is Reika, wearing her signature emotionless smile. 2 more shots ring out, and Osako collapses to the ground. Just then, they hear sounds from the nearby bushes, and Kohei pulls out his gun. Yuka walks out from behind the trees, and Reika feigns a motherly smile. She abuses Yuka's devotion and convinces her to keep the incident a secret. And for a girl as emotionally fragile as her, who's so starved for love and care, she's swept away by Reika's words. After that, the experiments proceeded in full force, and while Yuka's condition was largely stable, she was plagued with side effects. After starting the experiments, Reika was called to attend a shareholders meeting, and while there, she will have Kohei take control of the testing. If all goes well, they can begin one-on-one consciousness projection, and further down the line expand the target range from 1 to many. The campus was designed specifically for these experiments, and she tells him to make use of the signal amplifiers throughout the school, but above all to exercise caution, as everything will be for nothing if they are exposed. Kohei bows as her car drives off, and a man in black comes to make a report. A man named Sugiki, Osako's assistant, is looking into his death and is treading too close to the truth, so Kohei orders his men to bring him back alive, as he just might prove useful. Later that night, Kishi, Hasegawa, and Itsushima, the 3 members of the Horror Stories Club, take a late-night trip to the school grounds. They have let rumors of ghosts and spirits fill their heads, and are searching the campus for any trace of the supernatural. While exploring, they find themselves inside the normally locked activity room, and coming from the wall is the light of a hidden door. Opening the wall reveals a strange yet massive machine, but when Kishi calls out to her friends, she receives no answer. She turns around to find her friends have been knocked unconscious, and before she can scream, a hand covers her mouth. Having been caught, Kohei needs to eliminate the girls as liabilities, but he knows just how hard it would be to cover up 3 sudden deaths, so instead he takes them to the infirmary. The next day they wake up, and under Kohei's instruction, the nurse blames their situation on a severe gas leak. As a result, a new curfew is installed, night security is increased, and guards are bribed. Today is the day for Yuka's first official consciousness projection. Her body is connected to the lab's equipment, and her mind is linked to the console, as dozens of images speed past her eyes. When she finally calms down, she finds herself in a massive ocean representing consciousness. Next to her is an object, some type of marker, representing another nearby person. Kohei tells her to reach out and touch it, and upon doing so, she enters this marker. She can feel the fear and despair of whoever this person is, but Kohei reassures her that it's nothing but a simulation designed for the experiment, and so he gives her one last task. Next to her is a gun, and he wants her to pick it up, to control the simulated man and put him out of his misery. After a moment of hesitation, she complies, putting the barrel of the gun to her head, and on Kohei's mark, she pulls the trigger. Pain fills every part of her body, and the strain of a simulated death knocks her unconscious. Afterward, Kohei checks the next room, and tied up is Sugiki, now dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Kohei keeps the details of the experiment secret, even from Reika, and reports the first consciousness projection as a complete success. With the plan now entering its next phase, he prepares for a group projection, and his target is Misono High. Since entering the school, Yata has been assaulted by visions and hallucinations. She's been trapped in this dream of Yuka's creation, and with that realization, the dream itself begins to collapse. Yuka tries to convince Yata to surrender to the tide, so she can experience a world with no suffering or sadness, but she remembers her true goal of finding Siva and refuses Yuka's invitation.
Why? Why are you ditching me again? Like you did before? Yuka. It's time we woke up.
When Yata opens her eyes, she finds herself back in the school. From the visions jogging her memory, she remembers the mass hallucination incident and that it happened in the school's activity room. This was the site of Kohei's group projection experiment. When Yuka connected to the students, the strain was too much for her body to handle. As a result, she slipped into a coma, and the second experiment was deemed a failure. The hallucination showed a secret chamber within the room, so she destroys the surrounding walls and finds a signal amplifier. After shutting it down, the interference on the island begins to subside, making this her best chance to find Yuka and save Shiva. Meanwhile, in the school's lecture hall, with the amplifier's destruction, Yuka's power begins to wane. Because of her frail constitution, she was using the amplifier to take the strain of projection off her body, and with it gone, she can no longer maintain those illusions. Sensing this change, Cradle makes an appearance. She tells her that if things continue as is, Babylonia will take over the island, and her plans will die along with her. As an entity so fascinated by stories, Cradle has a special interest in this girl, whose entire purpose is to weave stories. She offers Yuka the chance to merge into the tide, removing the limits of her body and allowing her to spread her projections through the tide itself. Reika's dream was to unite humanity for the sake of peace, and Yuka has decided to carry on that dream in her own way, by dragging humanity into her self-made paradise. In order to carry out that plan, she will use anything at her disposal, including the tide. Cradle takes Yuka's hand as power flows into her, and she commands the tide to flood the island. After the failure of the second experiment, Yata woke up in the infirmary. The incident was covered up as a ceiling collapse, and the hallucinations were attributed to brain damage from injury. She's well aware the nurse is lying, and knows she won't get any answers, so storms out of the room to find Yuka. As for Yuka, she's spending more and more time in the hospital, and is well aware of the fact she doesn't have much time left. A doctor enters the room, and at the time, Yata was unaware that the voice was the same one from the experiment. If she had realized, then maybe she could have saved Yuka, and prevented her friend from going down that dark path, saving her from such a tragic fate. On the day of the outbreak, Yuka was trapped in an underground lab, and when Yata saw the list of deceased, Yuka's name was among them. Her suffering didn't end with her death. That was only the beginning. Her consciousness was swallowed by the tide, until Cradle pulled her out. However, what remained was not Yuka Saotome, but a fractured remnant, twisted by the tide's influence. And even if she's an enemy, Yata can't help but see her as her old friend. For all these years, she's been trapped in this school, but Yata's been living with this sense of regret, so in a way, she's also been trapped all the same. She failed to save Yuka the first time, and she's been carrying that feeling within her ever since. As her best friend, this is her second chance to save her from plunging further into madness, and free herself from those inner demons holding her back. She opens her eyes, and the illusion fades away. She fights her way through the corrupted surrounding her, and finds Shiva unconscious at the end of the corridor. Yata picks her up and heads to the roof, deploying a signal anchor, re-establishing contact with Babylonia. Her next step is finding Yuka, since the tide is spreading across the island, and if the illusions become any stronger, it's unlikely any of them will wake up again. After the failure of the second experiment, Reika agreed to have Yuka turned into a construct, under the assumption it was the best chance for her to recover. But not even modification could erase her weak body. As a construct, she had to be connected to an external power supply, but her mental aptitude increased dramatically. Despite the need to be impartial, unaware to even herself, Reika had begun to value Yuka's safety, even over the advancement of the project, to the point she asked Yuka to quit the experiment altogether. Both Yuka and Kohei protested her decision, so she decided to get the project over with as fast as possible. For the third test, she expands the range to the entire campus, until something throws the island into total chaos. Infected machines run rampant in the streets, and the virus managed to infiltrate the lab. Everything is locked down, and she tries to break through the chamber doors to reach Yuka. Kohei gestures to one of the guards, and Reika is knocked unconscious. With the slightest hint of pity, he forces Yuka into suspended animation, leaving the outcome of her life to fate. Within Yuka's mind, the virus ate away at her consciousness, but that very virus is what gave her the power to reach Yata, and with her remaining strength she passed on a warning, telling her to run. On the other side of the island, Yata hears Yuka speaking directly to her, and wastes no time. She runs throughout the school, warning everyone who will listen, and even those who won't. She runs into Masao, and he agrees to have his gang help her defend the school. He gives her the 2 swords he took from his father, and together they begin the Battle of Misono High. She makes her way through the school, saving students and killing corrupted, when a familiar figure joins the fight. Ever since coming back to the school, Yata's illusions have been fueled by her own regrets and self-doubt. These hallucinations have been a lesson from Yata to herself. Why does she bother doing anything? Saving these students, trying to save Yuka, or even leading Scarab. Everything would be so easy if she just gave up, but that's never been her style. Laying down and giving up won't make these challenges disappear. The best way to handle life is head-on. That's how she's lived thus far, and there's no sense stopping now. Yata runs through a dozen dreams, chasing the phantoms Yuka leaves behind. The more she uses the power of the red tide, the more it twists and corrupts her desires, molding her false paradise into a true purgatory. There's only so much a few kids can do to delay an army of machines. Masao was killed during the fighting, and when the rescue team arrived, she learned Yuka died when the hospital was overrun. From that point on, survivor's guilt ate at her very core, so she leapt at the chance to be converted, and buried her memories beneath countless battles against corrupted, with every machine destroyed serving as a silent act of redemption. When she opens her eyes, she finds herself in another battlefield, this time against a cherished friend. Yuka's voice pierces the back of her mind, just like it did years ago, telling her to come to the lecture hall. Now it's time for Yata to make use of this second chance and wake Yuka from her dream. Outside the school, Valeria carries Shiva to an extraction point when a shadow flashes into view. She pulls out her gun, and in her sights is none other than Reika Saltome. According to their intel, she became a construct shortly after the outbreak and has been missing ever since. She's returned to this island for a singular reason, because Yuka woke up. She tried for years to wake Yuka, yet nothing ever worked, until now. The island begins to tremble as the tide gets more active, and Reika takes her leave, intending to see her daughter one last time. Inside the school, Yata and Reika cross paths. Having seen Yuka's memories through her projections, she saw how Reika manipulated her into obedience, and she couldn't be more furious. In that moment, the pain in Yata's mind intensifies, and Reika slips a bracelet onto her wrist. She built this signal jammer to help reduce the effects of Yuka's projections, and now she gives it to Yata. The truth is, every passing moment, Yuka's consciousness is being corrupted by the tide. This is why her once peaceful dreams became twisted nightmares, and Yuka, who once gave everything to save Yata's life, is now luring her to death. When she merged with the tide, a near endless number of consciousnesses were connected through her to fuel her projections. The reason she's telling Yata this is to free her from hesitation, to make sure she has the conviction to do what must be done. If Yuka's disconnected from the tide, it will likely kill her, but if she remains connected, it will crush her mind, turning her into another one of its tools. She failed to save her friend once before, and now that she has the chance to make it right, she won't let it happen a second time.
you of your grief. Tokoyo no hana. Wither now.
As the battle comes to an end, Yuka crashes through the wall of an adjacent room. Within a storm of emotions and memories, Yuka speaks first. She's glad Yatta managed to escape her projection, and with that sentence, Yatta comes to a disheartening realization. Yuka has been fully aware of everything that's happened. The tide did suppress her consciousness, but in the beginning, activating the projection was her own choice. At the start of the outbreak, she could feel the pain and despair of everyone victimized by the virus, and so wanted to create a paradise free of suffering, where everyone could pass on in peace. She was so lonely for so long she chose to accept the tide, to find some semblance of connection. But the tide's connection corrupted her desire, using her obsession to increase its own influence. This entire ordeal was the result of a girl who couldn't bear being alone anymore. She spent years weaving dreams for people. Some were scientists, others lawyers, doctors, and superheroes. But Yatta chose to relive her days in Misono. As a final farewell, Yuka tells her to live for the future, not to obsess over the past. As her strength fades, the girl collapses, and the tide continues to creep forward. This second life was borrowed from the beginning, and now it's time to give it back. Yatta steps forward to catch Yuka when Reika appears to break her fall. She turned herself into a construct to continue the projection experiments, using herself as the new test subject. That is how she learned exactly what Yuka was going through. Now that she's here, it's time for the final test, a one-on-one projection between the two of them. She wasn't able to be the mother Yuka needed at the start, so even if it kills her, she will be there in the end. Having received a transmission from Valeria, Yatta takes one last look at her friend and sprints towards her team. When the island was first founded, Reika, being such a controversial figure, likely would have been denied access. To circumvent this, she decided to transfer to the island as a parent of a student, not as a researcher. Although this came with certain challenges, most notably her lack of children. Through her connections, she received an invitation to an orphanage. That is where she first met Yuka. In seeing Yuka's similarities to herself, she decided to take the girl as her own. That day, she had a presentation to attend, and told Yuka she would come back for her after it ended. Instead of waiting, Yuka chased her car through the snow for hours, and by the time she heard the news, she was already in the hospital. This is where she will start her new dream, one just for Yuka. This time, she doesn't go to her meeting. Instead, she recruits Yuka for an experiment. Her task is to be a normal girl, and for them to grow up as a proper mother and daughter. She knows Yuka will do anything to repay her, so she orders her to live happy and healthy. As Yuka sleeps, a smile appears on her face, and for the first time in a long time, she can be at peace. The tide consumes the school as Reika closes her eyes, and the island falls silent once again. After returning to Babylonia, Yatta accepted the position as Scarab's new captain, although she isn't a fan of all the documentation that comes along with it. Having technically failed their mission of capturing Reika, the team is on forced vacation for the time being. In honor of Shorthalt, they renamed Scarab's medic bot after him, and now whenever someone confides to it, they leave an item as tribute. Among those items are Discord scissors, Shiva's tarot cards, and a pillow cushion from Wanchi, among many others. To everyone's surprise, Hydrangea Island has been cleared for future use. Apparently the tide only flooded the school buildings, and receded soon after they left. Now Yatta's job is to clear the island of lingering corrupted and hetero creatures, and this time she gets to work alongside Grey Raven's commandant. This marks the beginning of a new age for Scarab, and while Shorthalt may be gone, he's left the team in 6 very capable hands. She turns to Valeria, giving a half-hearted wave, and disappears down the hall. There we go, guys. That's it. Crescent Sun, 1 week. You can call me a lot of things, but a liar is not one of them. But with that, we have finished all of the available floating records. I'm so thankful for you guys. I'm so thankful for you guys sticking with this 2.5 month side quest we've been on. It's been so long since we got even a crumb of main story. And believe me guys, I'm just as hype as you are, because I don't read ahead, so it's also been 2.5 months for me. To be honest, I don't even know if I'm going to get the discussion video out today. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Because I'm throwing this video out as soon as it's finished. As soon as export is done, upload. But there is one thing I just want to drop in here real quick. In the middle of the chapter, when I said that, this Yuka isn't the true Yuka Saotome, I shouldn't have worded it like that. That definitely doesn't get my intention off correctly. What it really is that Yuka is just so different from what Yatta remembers that she's saying this can't be the real Yuka. Right, it's kind of like that. She's not saying you're not Yuka Saotome as in she's not literally Yuka. She's saying it like, oh no, I can't believe it. You're so different from what I remember, you can't be Yuka. There's no way. She's saying it like disbelief, not literally. So, I apologize for that. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next video, where we cover Chapter 31 of the main story, Shaper's Ripples.